Welcome, everyone. Ready to dive into some seriously strange stories?
I'm definitely intrigued.
Today, we're heading deep underground, exploring accounts from miners who claim to have encountered the unexplainable. We're talking about claustrophobia and darkness, but with an added layer of, well, the unknown.
Sounds a bit creepy. What kind of stories are we talking about?
Think glowing lights, mysterious figures, even a papal apparition.
Whoa, hold on. A papal apparition. Now that's something I gotta hear.
But don't worry, we're sticking strictly to the facts as reported by the miners and the media. What you choose to believe, that's entirely up to you.
Sounds fair. Lead the way.
All right, let's start with the Shepperton mine incident back in 1972. Pennsylvania. 2 miners trapped for 14 days after a mine collapse.
I remember hearing about that. A pretty harrowing ordeal.
It was. But while they waited for rescue, they claimed to have witnessed some truly bizarre things.
Like what?
They reported small, blue, moving lights swarming them, almost like insects, but made of light.
Okay, that's pretty strange.
Then a large oval light appeared, and a humanoid figure, glowing, emerged from it. It stood there for a while before vanishing back into the light.
Okay, now that's just getting weirder. Can you imagine being in that situation?
Trapped underground, on edge, and then you see something like that.
No way.
But wait, there's more. 3 days later, that same oval light shows up again. This time, the figure resembles, get this, the Pope.
You're kidding. The Pope.
They said he blessed them and disappeared back into the light.
Now I'm not sure what to believe.
Understandably. Some folks thought it was all hallucinations brought on by stress and isolation. Being stuck in a collapsed mine for 14 days.
Yeah, I could see that. The mind can play tricks in extreme situations.
Exactly. But others went in a completely different direction, theorizing about an underground alien base, with these beings observing, maybe even trying to help the miners.
Aliens, huh? That's quite a leap.
It is. And to make things even more complicated, a song about cannibalism was released a year after the rescue.
Cannibalism, what does that have to do with anything?
Nothing, actually. It was by a band on the other side of the country. But unfortunately, it fueled this awful rumor that the trapped miners had resorted to cannibalism to survive.
Oh man, that's terrible.
They actually had to defend themselves against these false claims.
I can't imagine going through that after everything else they endured.
And to top it all off, the mine entrance was sealed with concrete after the rescue.
Sealed? Why would they do that?
It's almost like they were trying to hide something, right?
It definitely raises questions. Was there something down there they didn't want anyone to find?
Or was it just a safety precaution? Hard to say. We're focusing on the facts as we know them, but it's these unanswered questions that really get you thinking.
Agreed. It's definitely intriguing.
Okay, ready for our next stop?
Absolutely. Lay it on me.
Let's fast forward a few decades to the Chilean mine rescue in 2010. 33 miners trapped for 69 days.
I remember that one. It was all over the news. A real miracle they all survived.
A testament to human resilience for sure. But there's a lesser-known, more unsettling side to this story, too.
Really?
One of the first messages that those miners sent to rescuers was, "We're not alone down here." Just that phrase alone sends chills down your spine, doesn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. What do you think they meant by that?
We can only speculate. What makes it even more mysterious is that once they were rescued, they were held in police custody for 17 days under a media blackout.
Wait, police custody? Why? You'd think they'd need medical attention and psychological support after being trapped for so long.
You would think so, wouldn't you? But that raises some serious questions about government censorship, doesn't it?
Definitely suspicious. Makes you wonder what happened down there that they didn't want the world to know.
It's like they were told to stay silent, maybe even threatened. And the fact that they were held by police, not a medical facility, adds another layer of oddness to the whole thing.
It seems like authorities were more concerned with controlling information than the miners' well-being.
Exactly. Okay, now, for a case that takes us way back to 1944, a mine disaster that might not have been an accident at all.
Oh, tell me more.
A mine inspector named Glenn E. Berger claimed that the deaths of 15 miners were caused by, and I quote, bizarre subterranean humanoids with the power to manipulate the earth.
Subterranean humanoids? That sounds like something out of a science fiction movie.
Right. Berger described seeing a malicious creature not of this world that caused the cave-in, trapping and killing the miners.
That's a pretty wild claim. Do you think it was just shock or grief talking?
Possibly. But then you have one of the rescuers reporting deep cuts on the bodies that looked like claw marks, and some of the miners were never found.
Claw marks. That's creepy.
And here's another interesting detail. This incident occurred near Raven Rock.
Raven Rock? What's that?
It's a massive underground military bunker, sometimes called the Underground Pentagon. Super top secret.
Really? What do they do there?
It was built to withstand a nuclear attack. It's supposed to be huge, with tunnels and chambers extending hundreds of feet underground. Some believe it's connected to a whole network of underground bases, maybe even involved in alien activity or classified research.
Okay, now we're getting into some real conspiracy theory territory.
Yeah, so we have a mine disaster. A witness claiming it was caused by a subterranean creature, claw marks, missing bodies, and a secret underground military base nearby. Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It definitely makes you think. Do you think there's a connection between what those miners experienced and those secret underground activities?
It's possible. The 1944 mine disaster, the Chilean mine rescue, and the Shepperton incident, they all involve miners reporting unusual phenomena while trapped underground. Is it just a coincidence? Or is there something more to it?
A pattern, perhaps?
Maybe. But remember, we're sticking to the reported facts. It's up to you to decide what to believe. What do you think?
This is a lot to process. I think I need a moment to digest all of this. This is some seriously strange stuff.
It's important to remember we should approach these accounts with, a healthy dose of skepticism. We're dealing with secondhand information here. A lot of it comes from media reports, and we know things can get sensationalized sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. We need to be critical thinkers here. Can't just accept everything at face value.
Right. But still, the number of similar stories from different miners in different places at different times, it does make you wonder. It's hard to dismiss them all as, complete fabrication,
It's definitely a pattern worth exploring, and even if we don't have concrete evidence to support these claims of, strange creatures or alien bases or whatever, the consistency does suggest something unusual might be happening underground.
Maybe it's not about little green men or monsters, but something else entirely, something we haven't even considered yet.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, what if it's a natural phenomenon that we just don't fully understand yet? I mean, the Earth's depths are still largely unexplored, right? We're constantly discovering new species, geological formations, even entire ecosystems down there.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's entirely possible there are forces at work down there that we're only just beginning to grasp.
Okay, I like that. What if these miners are tapping into some kind of collective unconscious? A shared human fear of the unknown that just manifests in these bizarre visions and encounters.
Ooh, that's an interesting thought. The human psyche is a powerful thing. We know that extreme stress and isolation can really mess with our perception and mental state. So it's certainly possible that these experiences are rooted in, psychological phenomena that we haven't fully mapped out yet.
Exactly. It's like our brains, when faced with the overwhelming darkness and pressure of being trapped underground, they just start filling in the blanks. They create these fantastical narratives as a way to cope with the terror.
And those narratives often draw upon existing cultural myths and beliefs, right? The Pope, aliens, monstrous creatures, those are all archetypes in our collective imagination. They're ready to emerge when our rational minds are pushed to their limits.
Makes you wonder if there's any truth to those myths. If those stories, passed down for generations, are echoes of actual encounters that our ancestors just couldn't explain.
Right. And that's the beauty of these mysteries, I think. They force us to confront the limits of our knowledge and question the very nature of reality. We may never have definitive answers, but the process of exploration, of seeking to understand, is what enriches our understanding of the world and ourselves.
I love that. It's not about finding the right answer, it's about the journey of discovery.
Exactly. So we've heard some pretty bizarre accounts from miners who claim to have experienced the unexplainable while trapped underground. We've explored various explanations, hallucinations, government cover-ups, alien encounters, even the possibility of unknown natural phenomena or psychological forces at play.
A lot to consider.
It is. And it's important to remember there's no single definitive answer. We have to weigh the evidence, consider different perspectives, and ultimately decide for ourselves what we believe.
Well said. And even if we lean towards skepticism, there's a certain undeniable allure to these mysteries. They tap into a primal fear of the unknown, a sense that there are forces at work in the universe that we can't fully comprehend.
Absolutely. It reminds us that despite all our scientific advancements, there are still vast realms of existence that remain shrouded in mystery.
Okay, so let's think about the media's role in shaping public perception of these events. Do you think the media tends to sensationalize these stories, or do they generally stick to the facts?
Well, the media landscape is complex. There are outlets that prioritize accuracy and responsible reporting, and then there are those that, let's just say, prioritize entertainment value over factual rigor. When it comes to these kinds of stories, there's always a risk of exaggeration or misrepresentation, especially when dealing with limited information or eyewitness accounts that are inherently subjective.
Right. It's like that game of telephone we played as kids. The story changes a little bit with each retelling until it's barely recognizable from the original.
Precisely. And in the age of social media, this distortion can happen even faster. A single tweet or post can take on a life of its own, spreading misinformation far and wide.
Which is why it's more important than ever to be discerning consumers of information, to check sources, consider biases, and not just take everything at face value.
Exactly. Critical thinking is essential, especially in a world where information, both accurate and inaccurate, is so readily available.
Let's go back to the miners for a moment. These are people who have been through incredibly traumatic experiences. What kind of psychological impact might these encounters have on them, even if we assume they were hallucinations or misinterpretations of natural phenomena?
Well, trauma can manifest in a variety of ways, and even if these experiences weren't objectively real in the conventional sense, they were real to the miners who experienced them.
Yeah.
And that perception of reality can have a lasting impact on their mental and emotional well-being.
It's like that saying, the mind is its own place, and in itself can make a heaven of hell, a hell of heaven. What might seem like a simple hallucination to one person could be a deeply unsettling and life-altering experience for another.
Exactly. And we have to be sensitive to that. These miners deserve our empathy and understanding, regardless of whether we believe their stories or not.
Well said. It's a reminder that behind every sensational headline or strange tale, there are real people who have lived through these experiences, and we should treat their accounts with respect.
And we can't forget about the cultural context either, right? Mining communities, they often have their own folklore and traditions that have been passed down for generations.
Oh yeah, for sure. Stories that are often rooted in the dangers and mysteries of the profession. So those stories could shape how miners perceive and interpret their experiences underground.
It's like those old sea shanties about krakens and sirens, born from the sailors' fears and the vast unknown of the ocean. Maybe these miners' tales are a similar kind of storytelling, a way of processing the darkness and the unknown.
Yeah, I see what you mean. And those stories serve a purpose too. They reinforce safety practices, they warn of potential dangers, and they create a sense of camaraderie, a shared experience among those who work in such a hazardous environment.
So it's not just about entertainment or like scaring each other around a campfire. There's a deeper cultural significance at play here.
Absolutely. These stories, they're part of the fabric of mining culture, a way of making sense of the world and their place in it.
It feels like we're trying to piece together a puzzle, but we only have half the pieces. We have these intriguing accounts, these strange events, but we may never have the full picture to truly understand them.
And that's okay. Sometimes the mystery itself is what's most compelling. It sparks our curiosity, it challenges our assumptions, and it forces us to confront the limits of our understanding.
Reminds me of that Einstein quote. The most bountiful experience we can have is the mysterious. It is the fundamental emotion that stands at the cradle of true art and true science.
Love that quote. It's the mystery that drives us to explore, to question, to seek knowledge. And in that pursuit, we often discover more about ourselves than we do about the mysteries themselves.
So what does this all mean then? Are these miners' tales simply tall tales spun by men under duress, or are they glimpses into a hidden reality beneath our feet? Are we alone in the universe, or are there other beings, other intelligences sharing this planet with us, maybe dwelling in its depths?
Big questions, questions that have haunted humanity for centuries, really. And while we may never have definitive answers, the search for those answers is what makes life so endlessly fascinating.
I like that perspective. It's not about the destination, but the journey. And this deep dive has certainly been a wild ride.
It has. We've explored the dark corners of mining lore, confronted the limits of human perception, and pondered the possibility of unknown worlds existing right beneath our feet.
And who knows what other mysteries await us in the Earth's depths. Perhaps as we continue to explore the unknown, we'll encounter more of these strange tales, more hints of something beyond our current understanding. But one thing's for sure, the Earth holds many secrets. And sometimes what we find down there, well, it's more than we bargained for. We encourage you to keep exploring this topic, delve deeper into the minds of human experience and the mysteries they hold. Draw your own conclusions, keep an open mind, and remember, sometimes the most fascinating discoveries are the ones we least expect. Until next time, keep diving deep.